Welcome to the Doll Beauty YouTube channel. I've done the Bratz challenge look today. If you'd like to see how to complete this look, then keep on watching. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is block out your eyebrows. This does not look nice, but it makes it easier because obviously Doll's eyebrows are thinner and we're going to do a bigger eye, so they're going to be higher. You don't really want your eyebrow getting in the way, especially if you don't have much of a lid space. So I just use any glue, any Pritt stick. And the easiest way to do this is, for the first, it is quite difficult, but really just get the glue quite like roughly, get it on there. So go all angles as well, so you're not just, so you're getting the hair from like every way. I would get a spoolie brush and just brush them up so all the glue's really in there. And then just use a wipe or something like that just to get some of it off your skin, just you don't want it to get in the way of your makeup later, but obviously it needs to stay on your eyebrows. Okay, so you just need to let that first layer dry, and then you don't rub all around this time because you don't want to kind of spoil how much you've just flattened it to your face. So literally just go up. And if you just repeat that about three or four times probably, just where you're going up and over it and letting it dry, that should get it flat enough. Then I'm just going to use the RCMA No Colour Powder. Just any sponge will do. I always just use this for powder. And you just want to sort of like press it on. You don't want to like get in the way of everything that you've just, or push any hairs back down. So you just want to press it on, and this fills in the gaps as well. Sometimes it shows if any hairs have like popped forward a bit as well, which then you could go back over. And then you don't want to like aggravate it by brushing too much. Definitely don't brush down, so kind of just get it off the rest of your face. Then, because hair shows through, the colour comes through quite a lot because it's like blue toned hair. It's quite, even if the light, I think you can still kind of see your shadows almost. So any sort of orange concealer or something just colour corrects the blue out. So this seems like it's going to make it look weird, but you can just cover it with foundation after. Okay, that'll probably do. And then you can just go in with any foundation. I just picked quite a thick one. So this is the Revolution, doesn't actually say, but I think it's called Fast Base or something like that. It's just the stick ones, just it's quite thick, so you don't really want like a sheer consistency when you're trying to cover over so much. So literally just go up the way that your eyebrows have been stuck down. I'll just let that settle for a second so it kind of clings. And then if you just, I'm just using a beauty blender. I've not actually wet this one because I don't want it to like shear out anymore. And just press the foundation over. Sometimes the colour does still show through, but you will be doing new eyebrows on top anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to use this as Hoover Knows. It's just a MAC concealer. I've had it for a lot of years. Just any sort of thick concealer that you have will do. And sometimes just dabbing that a little bit because it's a bit lighter over the top. It'll help with them showing, the colour of them showing through a bit. Okay, then I'm not going to carry on with the foundation all over my face yet, just because we'll be bringing the eyes down and stuff. You don't want to end up making a mistake and having to wipe it all off. So I'm just going to buff this in where it's on my head. This is the Peaches and Cream PC19 brush. This is so nice for foundation. I use it all the time. Okay, just lightly blend it in, but I think usually if you're blending it too much, that's when they start showing through. So just a little bit. And then I'm going to powder over them again. Just with the same, this is the RCMA no colour powder, but any loose powder. Just so it's got no colour in it, so it's literally just there to set it. Okay, now I'm just using any pressed powder. This is the Stay Matte Rimmel one. Just to get that powder off a little bit. I think this one's just translucent as well. I feel like it's transparent. It does have a bit of a colour, but just skin coloured. Okay. Right, now you look nice and crazy. You'd need to redraw on your eyebrows. So, okay, so to redraw the eyebrows on, I'm just using the ABH Dip Brow. This is in the taupe one. I just don't really want a dead dark colour. Obviously it depends your hair colour or whatever. It's just the one I'd use on my own eyebrows. And just an angled brush. Because there is texture underneath, it can be quite difficult, but that's why this is quite good because it's creamy, so powder might just look all, it might not get the definition that you need. So I'm just going to start sort of where my eyebrow begins, just slightly above. And just start with a line. And obviously angling it higher up. Just so you have more room underneath to then create a bigger eye. You can kind of see where your eyebrow would arch down, so just follow that. And then I just start to do a little line on the top. I'm just trying to keep these thinner than the normal eyebrows these days. Obviously dolls don't have massive big eyebrows. So keep it thin. Doll eyebrows also don't have a lot of texture, like you can't see hair. So it doesn't matter about having hair strokes or anything like that. They're more just obviously like painted on. I'll still sort of go lighter towards the front so it's not like a block, but it's up to you really. See, so now if there's any colour underneath, like a faint bit of colour, these eyebrows kind of overpower that so you can't really see anymore. Using a creamy product as well helps. So if you did make a mistake, it's much easier to get rid of. Powder's a bit more difficult. Okay, so I feel like they're as even as possible. The eyebrows don't really stand out on the look, so I don't feel like it overly matters. That's definitely not what you're really looking at. To set it, I'm gonna use just the same brush and just go over with any brown really. More towards the end, so it's just darkening the end slightly. I'm just using the Stacey Marie Carnival palette, just rowdy at the top. Probably a mixture of that and the basic one. Just it's the darkest brown in there without being crazy. I'm hardly adding, I'm literally tapping my brush in like that. I'm hardly adding anything at all. You'd rather be able to have to add more than have it start taken away from it, because then that's going to be difficult with the amount of stuff you've got on your eyebrows. At the front, I kind of just, I never add anything more to my brush to do the front. I just leave whatever's on my brush and kind of just push it up a little bit, just so it's not dead harsh. Right, so I'm just going to use the P. Louise base. This is room 1. I think this is slightly lighter than the original one. Put some of that on my hand. This is one of the new P. Louise Acid Rain brushes as well. It's really good for concealer. I'm just going to carve out a little bit underneath, just to sort of make it how you would to your own eyebrows really, and make it slightly more defined. Again, just blend it in with this one, it just is a lot faster. Once you've got that done, you can always, if your eyelids do crease, you can always pat over that after. I'm just gonna sort of sketch out now where the new eye shape's gonna be, just so I'm not just going in with colours not really knowing where the shape is. I'm just going to use this like a nude, this is just a nude lip liner. Anything that's just not, obviously you don't want to use black or something that's going to get in the way of the other colours, it's just so this, you'll not notice this. So from your eye, you want to carry on this part down slightly. So this obviously doesn't have to be absolutely perfect as well, you can change it when you add colour in. So you just follow your natural, where your eye's curving, and then bring it further down a bit. And then this is sort of carrying on this part, like the middle lower part of your eye. So just the same as your eye would, bring it like that. I always go back and forth over it a few times to get it how you want it. And then that'll sort of be the lower part of your eye. And then this, bring up where you'll have the new eyeliner. It obviously is going to carry on further out, because like it's not going to start at the very end of your normal eye because you're making your eye bigger. And then I'll just pull that down just to give you an idea of where your eyeliner is going to go. Kind of just where your own eyeliner would, like winged eyeliner would go anyway, just a bit exaggerated. Bring it up. And then my crease is about here. I'm quite high crease anyway, but you just want it a little bit higher than it usually would be, because it wouldn't make sense to have all this part bigger and then the top of your eye just exactly the same. So my crease would probably, I'll say, there. Okay, so that's sort of the shape for one. It just helps you when you're adding in the colours. So just do the same on the other eye. It's easier if you just try and follow your own eye shape as closely as possible. So if you know where your crease is, just do it slightly higher but the same shape, or where this part comes, just follow. So you try not to create something totally new where it's going to be confusing. So for this bit, we're going to use the Peaches and Pop Tarts palette from Doll Beauty. Obviously this is so good. This one and the Mud Pie one are unreal. Right, so I'm going to use the pinks and do a pinky eye rather than, I mean obviously it's up to you, whatever colour. I've done it before and done a rainbow eye, it's completely up to you. I'm going to use probably these sorts of ones, so I'm going to go in first I think with Candy. This is a brush from eBay and they're actually unreal. They're like a proper copy of Zoeva ones but so much cheaper, called Jessup, and they're really good. If your base is creased at all, just use any brush really and you can just pat back over it. Okay, so with Candy I'm just going to go all over your new eyelid. And you just want to, where you've drawn in your new crease, just sort of buff it over that, just like you would with your normal eyeshadow anyway. This is sort of just below my real eyebrows. You wouldn't want to go much higher into your eyebrows because then when you're doing this motion it's going to disturb where you've stuck them down. Anything over this side as well, you can, it doesn't matter how far you bring it out, you can always do that and fix it up later on. So then on the actual lid, I'm gonna go in with Bubba. It's really similar, just slightly darker. Okay, so I can sort of still see through a little bit to where I drew that outline of my new crease, so I'm just sort of going underneath that. Then with another one with nothing on it, just any fluffy brush. This is a Zoeva one, a 228. Gonna go in with the tiniest bit of custard tart, the yellow. Not much at all, I just always think this blends colours like into your skin really well, even though you might think yellow wouldn't. Add just sort of about 50% sort of onto where that edge of pink is, sort of coming over that slightly and then slightly above it, so it just blends the two together. So You probably don't want a brush that's too big, just so you can kind of get it where you want it, but you also don't want it tiny so it'll just stick in one place, because then it won't be as blended out. This is also why with your eyebrows, when you are covering them and you can slightly see a colour through, you're going to be adding so much on top that it really doesn't overly matter as long as they're stuck down enough. I'm then just going to use another smaller brush, nothing on again, just in here. If there's any parts where they've gone too harsh, just with nothing on your brush, just slightly like sort of just rub over them. It kind of like rubs it out a little bit. Okay, then I'm going to use Cheeky Vimto, maybe a bit of Ripple, just where I've got that crease line that I sketched out earlier. Just as you would in your normal eyes when you'd go darker in your crease, obviously it's just you'd bringing it a little bit higher. It's just quite a small, but still dead fluffy brush, you don't want anything harsh. Just go over that purple until it's as deep as you want it, really, just so it looks like a crease. Okay, so now I'm going to do the eyeliner. You can use any eyeliner. I'm just going to use Jeffree Star's liquid lipstick in Weirdo. This is just a black one. They are eye safe. I find it easier to go on because it's dead liquidy, so it's easy to go on, then it dries down matte. So I'm just using a tiny little brush. And then sort of how you do your own eyeliner, winged eyeliner really, it's just exaggerating it a little bit more. Okay, so for the underneath part of the eye, I'm gonna again use a liquid lipstick, Jeffree Star one. This is Drug Lord, it's just white. You could use white paint, anything. I just like that this dries, it makes your life a bit easier, you don't really have to set it then. This is another one of the Acid Rain P. Louise brushes. Okay, so just fill in literally all of this part here. I'm going to go in my waterline as well with this. This is safe to do, obviously. Check if you were using paint or whatever that you can put it in your eyes. You just want to sort of join up the white to where your eyeliner ends. Just kind of always do things like this quite messy, because then you're not disturbing anything if you just wipe the edge afterwards. Okay, so now with the white bit, you just want to carry on the eyeliner line sort of down and just outline the white. So I'm just using the Jeffree Star Weirdo again. Just a tiny brush, this is an Acid Rain one. As thin as possible, obviously it just makes it a lot easier. Okay, and then any mistakes, just wait for that black to set because you don't want to smudge it. But you can go back in with your white and just go over any parts that have gone off slightly, like I've gone a little bit up here. Right, and then now we're going to do the pupil. This in the eyebrows is the hardest part, just because your eyelashes are there for one, so if they get any colour on, they can tend to smudge it down, or under your eye creases as well, which moves the colour. So I think I'm going to use the P. Louise and Mitchell Acid Rain paints. So not the bases, these are the paints. I'm going to mix nitro and blank canvas. Just this is a blue, but it is quite dark. So you want to try and sort of match it up to your eye colour. You don't need much of these at all. That's probably even far too much. I've just put it on the back of my hand. The blank canvas is kind of just a creamy colour. I could really do with a white and a black one of these, to be fair, it would make my life easier. But these dry down, like they are literally like paint, so you don't need to set them or anything, and they just dry like matte. So I'm just mixing the two just to get a light blue colour. Okay, so it's just slightly lighter. You can add in a little bit more of the lighter one to lighten it up even more if you want to. They are dead easy to mix. And then I'll probably just go in with that colour there and a small brush. And then it would be easier if you can get them where they're like big contact lenses, not the ones that fill in your whole entire eye, but they're like a big circle, so they're just slightly bigger than your eyes. But I wear glasses and contacts to actually see, so that just couldn't happen. But they would help the look a lot more if you had those in. Then you could match this up to those lenses that size. So I'm just going to do it slightly bigger than my actual eye. It probably will make it so you will be able to see the difference between my eye and the pupil underneath, the size difference, but you couldn't really have a Bratz Doll and then do a big eye and then this tiny little pupil underneath. So if you could wear those lenses, they'd make it look a lot better. I tend to just pull it down a little bit so to try and stop that creasing. So just try and get them obviously a similar size. I'm going to bring this one over a little bit. Okay, then you don't actually need to set these paints, but because of the crease and they could smudge, so I'm just going to put a little bit. This is the Coloured Rain, I don't know if it's got a name, but it's a Coloured Rain palette anyway, and it's all bright colours. Gonna kind of just mix a couple of the blues, just any really, and just dab it over slightly. I just don't want them, well, I need to try and stop them from smudging as much as possible. Okay, for the pupil now, this is the bit I always find smudges the most. So I'm going to use the Jeffree Star Weirdo, just because it is obviously quite black. Try and get that in there, and then straight away from the Peaches palette, use the black in there. This is a really good black. So just try and put that over the top straight away, just to stop it from smudging. Okay, when the black is dry, you just want to do a tiny little dot on the pupil, so like where the light would catch your eyes. So just with a tiny little brush, just try and watch your eyelashes and just do a little dot like that. I'm just going to hold my eye for a second, because that defo will smudge. Okay, so with black again, Jeffree Star Weirdo obviously, just gonna line the blue part so it makes the blue stand out a little bit more. Okay, so now the eyes are completed for now. I will have to do the lower lash line and the bottom eyelashes, but I'll do the rest of the foundation first. I'm going to use the Maybelline Fit Me one, and this in 120, and that what I used earlier, the Revolution, I think it's fast base, on what I used in my eyebrows earlier. This is really thick, so I don't really like this in the centre of my face. I just feel like I can get quite oily, not like I'll be leaving this on for the rest of the day, like, but I wouldn't want it to start looking dead shiny and coming off, so I kind of just do that one around sort of the edges. Obviously my forehead is done. And then the Fit Me one, I'm using that Peaches brush again that I used earlier, and just I sort of swirl or pat it on. You do want it to be quite full coverage. I mean, Bratz dolls aren't going to have any spots or redness or anything like that, so you want it to be as full as possible. Okay, so for my concealer, I'm using the Revolution Conceal and Define one. I think these are so good, and they're literally like £4. I'm mixing C5 with C8.5. I just get different colours of these all the time, whatever's there. The C5 one's slightly more tanned. Just obviously go under it as if it, how you would your normal eyes. So I'm focusing it in like the centre of my face. Chin, Cupid's bow down my nose. I'll add a little bit on my forehead, but because I've powdered that quite a lot, I don't want it to go all funny. And then the 8.5 one is slightly lighter. Add that over the top. And then I just use a beauty blender to blend that in. I kind of bring it like up the sides of my nose as well, like there and there, just leaving a little gap. It just helps with making your nose look smaller, which Bratz dolls definitely don't have a big nose. Okay, sometimes because this nose bit is quite, you don't want to go in with a big sponge and then ruin your eyes, so I just use any sort of brush. This is fluffy but it's quite dense, so just to blend it in. Again, I'm going to use the RCMA No Colour Powder. I use this in my own makeup all the time because my makeup does tend to slide off during the day, just in the middle of my face. The rest of it's fine, but this will brighten it up slightly as well. So just under the eyes, again bringing it up your nose. Okay, so while the powder's setting, I'm going to put on my lashes. I'm going to use 2 and just stack them. So I'm going to use 2 doll lashes, these 2. So it's Arabella and Amy. Arabella you can get in Topshop stores, Amy are online only. But they're both quite, I feel like you need big ones for this look. So because they're already sticky because they've been in there, you can kind of just pinch them like that and then it's just as if you've got one eyelash. And then I will just need to trim a little bit off the end, I always do. Okay, so I always from the outer edge, I just trim a little bit. I always just guess now. But obviously you can hold it up to your eye and then see. And then I'll just see. See, I'm just gonna, it's easiest if you just bend them loads. It feels like you're gonna break them, but you're not. Just bend them around and then you can kind of put them to where you want them, because I'm gonna try and angle them up a little bit, seeing as this eye is quite like this. I'm gonna just put a little bit of mascara on first. This one from Primark. I never care about which mascara I'm using because I use doll lashes like most days of my life, so I never think my actual eyelashes really matter as long as they're black. I'm going to use the doll glue. This is very dirty, I do apologise, but obviously until I just use it a lot. It is such a good glue, it's so sticky. So if you want your eyelash to stay on, they will. It dries quick as well, like I feel like it's tacky straight away, which I hate when you use other glues and you're sat there for absolutely ages, like, come on, and then you try and put them on and they still just ping off. This kind of, they're just ready to stick on straight away. So I just glued them as if it's one eyelash. It's much easier, I feel like, than putting one on than thinking, right now I'll put my other one on. So I'll probably leave this about, I don't know, 15 seconds or something. And then I'll just stick this on. Doll now we've brought out lash applicators as well, which I'm just so in the habit of using my fingers, I always have, but they are actually really helpful. And they're kind of like the tweezers, but the shaped sort of like your lash, so you can put them straight on, or even just pinch them to your eyelashes. They are really helpful. The good thing about this glue as well, say if you look and it's moved slightly, you want to take the whole thing off to redo it, you can kind of just pull it and then re-stick it back on somewhere else because it's so tacky. Okay, I'm just going to wipe off that powder now. I use the Stay Matte Rimmel one to sort of wipe it off and then be powdering my face at the same time. I know a lot of people don't use like loads of powder, but I do. I'm then going to do your new waterline. So I use a brush like this. It's not tiny, but it's not massive either, so you can just get in there. I'm going to use Raspberry Sundae because this one's so bright. I always just pat it off, you don't want loads falling down. And then just follow what your new waterline is. Try not to go into the eye. Okay, and then with, obviously, Jeffree Star Weirdo, I'm just going to draw in some new bottom eyelashes. Just a dead thin brush again. You just kind of want them like that. I'm going to start off with the light one, and just, this is a Morphe M405. It's just an angled brush basically. I always use the light one at first. I feel like it just gives you an idea of where you're putting it, and then you can always darken it up with the darker one after. Also, Bratz dolls don't really have like full-on contour, but our faces aren't probably as like rounded as what theirs are, so I'm just trying to do it, usually I would do it like this, but I'm trying to round it off a little bit. I mean, my face is actually pretty round, but. So you can really build up the light one, you don't have to be too careful with it. Okay, then I'm gonna do blush. This is the Milani blush. I'm sure Emma used this in her video. It's number 5. These are so good. I choose this like every day of my life. I like the Peaches and Cream PC 27. This one's dead peachy. I do go in with quite a bit, and then if you just smell it and obviously get the apples of your cheeks. Okay, so for highlight, I'm going to use the Doll Light Duo. This is the Shine Bright Like a Diamond one. For my everyday life, I actually use the Champagne Supernova one the most. I just love the colours in that one. But I want the highlight to really be bright on this one. So I'd like a diamond is the frostiest shade, I think. So obviously put this where you'd normally put it, but my eyelashes are in the way. I'd probably have it a little bit higher. So on your cheekbones as much as possible. And then I'm just going to use Peaches and Cream, one of their pigments in Pixie. This is so nice to highlight. It's a bit pinky as well, which I think suits this. I'm just going to get a fluffy brush with nothing on it. I don't want it as big as that highlight brush because I don't want this like everywhere. And then literally you only need a tiny bit, and I'm just going to put this on where my highlight would be. Okay, so everything's done now apart from the lips. Obviously Bratz have big lips, so I don't really like doing it over the top of foundation, so I'm just going to wipe off sort of where the lips will be. It's basically just overdrawn your own. Okay, so I'm just going to use any lip liner really, just to get the shape ready. So I am just following my own lip shape, I'm just making them bigger. Okay, so that's the outline drawn. I'm going to use two more of the P. Louise paints again, the acid rain paints. I'm going to use Raver, which is, both of these are just pink. That's that one. And Glow Girl. And that's that one. There's literally so much pigment in these, it's crazy. I think because these all dry matte, it'll be less obvious that they're just overlined and more like I just have massive lips. I wish. Okay, and then using Raver in the centre. I sort of just pattern it so the two blend together without us really having to do much. I'm just going to use a smaller brush just to darken that edge a bit. And then I'm just going to use a little bit of blank canvas just to lighten the centre even more. And then with blank canvas and a tiny brush, just any little brush, I'm just going to add a couple of little highlights. And then that's it.